Join Carol Davies on Global Voice Radio, the host of Only the Best for You. Be a change maker and unlock the secret to your best life.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my podcast, Only the Best for You, here on Global Voice Radio. My name is Carol Davies of the Passion Motivator Coaching Company, and I'm so pleased each week to share with you the best information and speakers about how you can be a change maker to make the world and yourself the best you can be. Today I'm reporting further to you on a topic that has long intrigued me. How can we set ourselves up for success if we are introverts? Our program today is part 3 about how to be a happily successful introvert. And the focus is how to be an entrepreneur as an introvert. It's commonly thought that extroverts make the best business entrepreneurs. Of course, introverts do have some qualities that aren't well suited for entrepreneurship. They can be too internally focused and sometimes shun networking. Extroverts are natural networkers and certainly know how to rally the troops. It's time to recognize that introvert traits have long been undervalued in the business world, and it may be time for extroverts to try and be more like introverts. Imagine a typical entrepreneur. A quiet, reserved introvert is probably not what first came to mind. Aren't entrepreneurs supposed to be gregarious and commanding, verbally adept, and able to inspire employees, clients, and investors with the sheer force of their personality? No wonder the advice for introverts who want to be entrepreneurs has long been some form of be more extroverted. Now, though, business experts and psychologists are starting to see that guidance is wrong. It disregards unique skills that introverts bring to the table. The ability to focus for long periods, a propensity for balanced and critical thinking, a knack for quietly empowering others that make them even better suited for entrepreneurial and business success than extroverts. Indeed, numerous entrepreneurs and CEOs are either self-admitted introverts or have so many introvert qualities that they are widely thought to be introverts. These include Bill Gates, co-founder of Microsoft, Steve Wozniak, co-founder of Apple, Larry Page, co-founder of Google, Mark Zuckerberg, co-founder of Facebook, Marissa Mayer, current president and CEO of Yahoo, and Warren Buffett, chairman and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. All the names I've just mentioned are giants in the world of corporations, and they are admitted introverts. As entrepreneurs, introverts succeed because they create and lead companies from a very focused place, says Susan Cain, author of Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking, and founder of Quiet Revolution, a website for introverts. She co-founded the Quiet Leadership Institute, a consulting firm with a mission to help companies harness the talent of introverted employees and to help introverts draw on their natural strengths. Another big plus, she says, introverts are not interested in leadership for personal glory, and they steer clear of the cult of personality. Their emphasis is on creating something, not on themselves. By their nature, introverts tend to get passionate about 1, 2, or 3 things in their life, says Ms. Cain. And in the service of their passion for an idea, they will go out and build alliances and networks and acquire expertise and do whatever it takes to make it happen. Here are some of the traits common to most introverts that make them especially well suited to entrepreneurship. They crave solitude. Many people believe that introverts, by definition, are shy and extroverts are outgoing. This is incorrect. Introverts, whom experts say comprise about 25% to 30% of the population, get their energy and process information internally. Some may be shy and some may be outgoing, but they all prefer to spend time alone or in small groups and often feel drained by a lot of social interaction or in large groups. Extroverts gain energy from being with other people and typically process information externally, meaning they prefer to talk through problems instead of pondering them alone, and they sometimes form opinions while they speak. In between introverts and extroverts are ambiverts. This is the third personality type that makes up the majority of the population, and it is a mix of introvert and extrovert. Being comfortable being alone and thinking before acting can give introverts a leg up as they formulate a business plan or come up with new strategies once the company is launched. Introverts not only have the stamina to spend long periods alone, they love it. Good entrepreneurs are able to give themselves the solitude they need to think creatively and originally, to create something where once there was nothing, says Miss Kane. And this is just how introverts are wired. Extroverts may find it hard to cloister themselves to think through big questions. What about the company that has to offer? How will it reach its audience because they crave stimulation? Solitude drains extroverts, and they aren't as creative if they spend too much time alone, says Beth Below, a speaker and a coach who is founder of the Introvert Entrepreneur, a website for introverts. So extroverts often take a throw the spaghetti at the wall and see if it sticks approach to solving problems, rather than thinking through possibilities. While extroverts are networking, promoting, or celebrating success, introverts stay focused, says Lori Helga, author of Introvert Power: Why Your Inner Life is Your Hidden Strength. An introvert on his or her own is going to enjoy digging in and doing research and be able to sustain him or herself in that lonely place of forging your own way. Of course, introverts do have some qualities that aren't well suited for entrepreneurship. They can be too internally focused and sometimes shun networking. Extroverts are certainly natural networkers. Now, introverts also don't need external affirmation. This is an important characteristic of introverts in that they tend to rely on their own inner compass and not external signals to know that they're making the right move or doing a good job. That can give them an edge in several ways. For instance, they generally don't look for people to tell them whether an idea is worth pursuing. They tend to think it through before speaking and rely on their own judgment about whether it's worth pursuing. With extroverts, the need for social stimulation for getting the idea in front of other people can make them leap before they've thought something out, Ms. Below says. It's very important for them to get outside feedback and motivation. Feedback is great, of course, but at a certain point, a leader needs to decide on a plan and execute it. Following their own compass also helps introverts stay focused on a venture. Extroverts can get sidetracked by seeking external validation, such as awards or media attention for a project, which can divert them from their main goals. While introverts welcome external validation, they won't let it define them or distract them. It's about keeping the long haul perspective, Ms. Bulow says. What's more, because introverts aren't looking for outside events to validate their plans or themselves, they don't take setbacks as personally as extroverts. Somebody who relies on external affirmation tends to take setbacks personally and may get dispirited if the company hits a rough patch. We know that at least the common wisdom is that businesses will not generate a profit until their third year, Dr. Helgo says. So if you cannot stick it out through the time when you're not getting rewards, not known, not getting anywhere, you aren't going to make it. This may not appeal to people who are extroverts. Introverts are also better listeners. Extroverts talk a lot, and in all that talking, they sometimes forget to let others get a word in, a trait that can be particularly damaging to their relationships with customers or clients. They can have this idea that they have the gift of gab, so they can make assumptions and tell their customers what they need instead of coming in and asking the customer. Introverts don't have this problem. They wait to speak until they have something to say, not because they're shy and socially inept, but because they are thinking and processing. As a result, introverts are excellent listeners, observers, and synthesizers. They can make unexpected connections because they're more focused on information input than output. And they're often good at connecting disparate dots. Extroverts take in information and spit it right back out, forming an opinion quickly. While introverts take it in, process it, and turn it around. Excuse me. They can sit with those dots long enough to see where the connection is. And introverts' desire to put the spotlight on others and really listen, and to model this skill for others, will be a huge advantage to his or her company in sales, management, partnering, and just about any other aspect of the business. The best business people aren't necessarily the best talkers, but the best listeners, the people who ask the right questions. That was borne out in a study reported in the Harvard Business Review in December 2010. Adam Grant, a professor at the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School, and his colleagues found that when employees were proactive, introverted leaders generated better performance and higher profits than extroverted leaders did. Why? Extroverts are better at leading passive employees who need a lot of direction, says Dr. Helgo. But if you have a very creative, self-motivated staff, introverts are better at channeling that talent and staying out of the way, listening, taking in ideas, helping employees shine. Extroverts are also more realistic. Introverts are more realistic. Extroverts are oriented to seek the positive, to loudly promote what they're working on and rally their cheerleaders behind them. But that may lead them to overlook the realities of a situation. Introverts tend to be more critical. As a result, they are more realistic when it comes to weighing feedback and analyzing information. Of course, introverts do have some qualities that aren't that well suited for entrepreneurship. They can be too internally focused and sometimes shun networking. Extroverts are natural networkers and certainly know how to rally the troops. But it's time to recognize that introvert traits have long been undervalued in the business world. Introverts communicate their needs. When you embrace your introversion, you can tell your coworkers what you need. Perhaps you need to be left alone for a few minutes at the beginning of the workday. While managing the tendency of your coworkers to interrupt you may be difficult, you can try to consolidate your time. Let people know when you're available for questions and input and when you are not. Just as some towns have signs for quiet school zones, you can request an interruption-free time zone. You may envy the university professors who can post office hours and have private offices with doors they can close. Faculty members who are mostly introverts recognize that constant interruptions are counterproductive. The contemporary workplace, dominated by extroverts, has lost touch with this wisdom and is very often open concept. You may need to find a way to claim some quiet time for yourself and your thoughts. Now, introverts stay engaged. Don't beat yourself up. If you don't come up with a response right away in a meeting, don't criticize yourself. It may take you time to formulate a response. Once you take in information, it can be like paint drying. It takes time before it's ready to touch. Being in the social environment of a meeting can be very stimulating, and this excitement puts up attention bandwidth. Don't put unrealistic pressures on yourself to perform. Remind yourself of your strengths. Performing in meetings is probably not one of them. Stay engaged even when you are feeling overwhelmed. You can take notes to keep yourself grounded, or you can pay attention to your breathing. Don't be a stone. Make eye contact even when you remain silent. Show that you agree and disagree with what is happening through body language. Be open to positive feedback from colleagues. You have a rich interior life, and if you assume everyone else does too, you may downplay your strengths and take them for granted. You have a lot to offer. Let your team and supervisors know that you are not slow, disinterested, or incompetent when you take more time on a problem than they do. Your slower approach may ingest some much needed doubt, caution, and circumspection into a project. This can be a downer for unbridled extrovert enthusiasm. Introversion can provide helpful checks against unmitigated optimism, like the kind of unrealistic, risky, and destructive confidence that caused the financial crisis of 2008. Be mindful of your presentation in the group. If your voice is low and soft, you may not be taken seriously. It is easy to ignore you when you are blending into the woodwork. Be mindful of your presentation in the group. You must definitely try to amp up your volume and enthusiasm. Be mindful of the energy and try to put it in your voice. Now, introverts need to provide their own feeling of safety in the workplace. This is not something external, but internal. For example, if the work environment has a lot of conflict, you will not feel comfortable speaking up. This is understandable for an introvert. When the group does not provide this security, you will have to provide it for yourself with mindfulness, awareness of breathing and bodily sensations. Imagine an energy field that surrounds you. It is clear and permeable, but you can control what gets in. When the environment is toxic, close the membrane to protect yourself. Don't let it in. Don't take on everyone else's negativity. Stay focused on your own experience. Stay connected to breath and body. While you may not be able to escape, you can drop into the energy of your body, and this can provide some refuge amid chaos. Breathe full, deep, and slow. Now on to another aspect. If you are introvert or extrovert, successful entrepreneurs share 5 traits: emotional intelligence, self-reliance, an impersonal attitude towards failure, willingness to be wrong, and trust in their intuition. Now, concerning the emotional intelligence, to be successful at running their own businesses, founders don't have the luxury of not doing things they aren't feeling motivated or when they get discouraged. They need to keep going despite whatever they're experiencing emotionally. But that doesn't mean totally mastering their emotions and controlling their feelings. The better you're able to communicate with others and form strong connections, the better you'll navigate stressful, emotionally trying experiences. It's the same for successful entrepreneurs. They aren't unusually cool-headed people who can contain their emotions and avoid reacting irrationally. Rather, they've built strong relationships with their staff, suppliers, and customers, and it's those interpersonal networks that do the emotionally heavy lifting when times get tough. The emotional intelligence that it takes to sustain these bonds can prove decisive. Likewise, successful entrepreneurs delay immediate gratification for the sake of a goal that may be a long way down the road. But they're only able to make those sacrifices because of the strong support systems they've built among the people around them, not because of some superhuman inner strength. Introverts may need to work at developing strong support systems and feel comfortable reaching outside of themselves. This can be a learned behavior developed over time. Another characteristic is self-reliance. If the idea of starting from scratch and having to rely on yourself frightens you, coping with the ups and downs of the startup experience of a business might be difficult. No matter how their personalities differ, successful entrepreneurs know how to keep going despite the inevitable discomfort of going outside their comfort zones. Successful entrepreneurs also have an impersonal attitude towards failure. One trait all entrepreneurs share is optimism. Many people see failures and setbacks as evidence that they aren't as capable as they'd imagined. They start thinking pessimistically and give up. Successful startup founders tend to approach failure with a more optimistic mindset. Many people who have run their own businesses have faced major roadblocks, sometimes many times, before finding success. Successful entrepreneurs are also willing to be wrong. All successful business owners and employees are curious people committed to lifelong learning. They recognize the need to keep up to date, not only about the particulars of their own industry, but about the wider world. They're constantly on the lookout for better, more efficient, productive ways of doing things. This much, anyhow, is widely understood. And successful entrepreneurs trust in their intuition. One constant when it comes to starting a new business or a new job is never having all the information you need. If you can't make a decision without having a full, clear view of the circumstances, you might not make it as an entrepreneur. Successful founders see and act on opportunities even when they don't see the complete picture. To fill in the blanks and blind spots just enough in order to be able to act, they need to have a high level of trust in their own intuition. Essentially, to succeed as an entrepreneur, either leading or managing a company with employees or being employed by one, you need to be aware of your personality type, such as introvert or extrovert. There are many studies on how to succeed in the business world. Learn about these roadmaps of success. It's worth taking the time to assess your strengths and preferences and being open to adapt when circumstances call for it. Whether you are an introvert or extrovert, being in the world of entrepreneurship is exciting. And if you tap into the strengths of your personality type, you will have a much better chance at success and enjoy the journey. I truly hope that you will find some great takeaways from my report today. If you want further information or want to talk about more ideas with me, contact me through my website, www.thepassionmotivator.com, or by email at coachcaroldavies@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Remember, you can change your life at any time and become the success you want to be. I look forward to connecting with you again next week. Bye now.
Tune in every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern for Only the Best for You with Carol Davies on Global Voice Radio.